5, 4, 3.
Hello and welcome to another video from the only source of information that you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today, me and Al Toledo are going to be talking about legalism. And just give me a second to figure out how to get my screen onto my notes. And here we go. All right, in the Bible, in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12, there's a verse that says, because of the increasing of iniquity, the love of the greater number will cool off. Now, Matthew chapter 24 is the one where Jesus is asked about the end times, the last days, the return of Christ and the restoration of God's kingdom, or the creation of God's kingdom. So anyway, there's a lot of things there that I always tell people are not really there. You know, it says that there would be earthquakes and wars and disease and famines. And what it really says is don't be fooled by false prophets and false leaders. Those are not signs of the last days. So I guess it could be religious leaders, economic leaders, political leaders. They're all involved in this system of lies to try to manipulate mankind. And so it's not that disease is going to be a sign of the last days. It's just that there will be false prophets and false Christs telling us about diseases. So we've already covered that. But Jesus said the actual sign of his return will be in the sun and moon and stars. What ends up happening is that people who are into astrology will tell you something silly about the planet Venus being located in the constellation Taurus, and that somehow that means something. But that's not a sign in the sun and the moon and the stars. You know, if you went back 200 years and asked an astrologer or astronomer, when will Venus be in that constellation, in constellation Taurus, they could give you the date of every date when that would happen over the course of the next 1,000 years. And so if that's what's happening, it's because that's what has been scheduled to happen forever. It's a regular cycle of the passing of time that's been going on for a couple of 1,000 years. So when Jesus said there would be signs in sun and moon and stars, he was talking about something that's not normal. In other words, looking up and seeing a sky that is not the same as what it's supposed to be. However, that hasn't happened yet. So we have to look to see if there's anything else in the Bible to indicate that we're even getting close to that time when the signs in sun and moon and stars will take place. And I really believe that we can. And I actually believe that part of that is recorded in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12, because as he explains all of these things, he says, because of the increasing of iniquity, the love of the greater number will cool off. Well, that word iniquity is anomia. And anomia, it means a perverted or broken legal system, or the use of the legal system to do wicked things to people. You know, the legal systems of the nations are all pretty similar. You know, they've got laws against murder and theft, and that would include forms of theft other than just breaking into someone's house and taking their things. So bad check writing would be theft. And what's happened is that over time, really clever thieves will hire lawyers to fill out forms saying it's okay to be a thief. So that's the way a lot of people get insanely wealthy, is that they steal your stuff, but they fill out a form and sign it first. And the form says, I get to steal your stuff. And a lot of times they'll get you to sign the form saying that it's okay to steal your stuff. They don't tell you that's what you're signing, but in general, they'll have something with your signature on that makes it okay to steal your stuff. Now, I'm not going to tell you that we're living in the last days, because this is becoming more common. I'm pretty sure that You know, you see stories about cattle barons back in the day building a dam across the river so that people downstream could not water their cattle, and they could, you know, buy their cattle up at a reduced price or take over their farms because the people couldn't pay their taxes or whatever. And I'm sure that that kind of stuff must have gone on. I mean, I live in this world filled with people who use legalism to steal, and it's hard to imagine a time when people didn't do that. But I have seen in the course of my life increases in this iniquity, this anomia, that are undeniable. When I was a child, this is just an example. There would be people who would get on the telephone and call around and say, "Your car warranty is expiring. We'd like to give you an opportunity to extend your car warranty." And you send them your money, your car breaks down, nobody fixes your car, and you complain to the police, and the police take steps to try to catch those people and put them in jail. So what happened is big time criminals, rich criminals, figured out a way to fill out some paperwork to make it okay to do that. And so today, calling people up and telling them that their car warranty is expired and then selling them a warranty that does not fix anything is okay. It's so okay that in the course of my life, I'm on disability and I get a check from the government for doing nothing. I don't do any good for society. I don't do any harm to society. I just get paid because I paid into disability. Now I'm disabled. I get paid back. But people talk about me as some kind of a leech that doesn't deserve to live. But at the same time, a guy that is a millionaire from selling crooked car warranties is looked up to in society as a decent, law-abiding businessman. Pretty hard to believe, but that's the case. And this is not the first time that's ever happened. You know, years ago, everybody knew that lawyers were crooks and that judges were crooks and politicians were crooks. But people to this day look up to lawyers, judges, and politicians as righteous men because they are doing their part for society. Now, I'm only getting what would allow me to live in abject poverty. These lawyers and judges and crooks that are taking advantage of people have mansions and helicopters and yachts and all that kind of nonsense. But the thing is, when somebody does something really unrighteous, like they fill out a bunch of legal papers to take advantage of somebody, and people find out about it, they become disturbed. But instead of pursuing justice against these people, they learn from their example. So now we're living in a culture where everybody is trying to get rich in the same way that rich people get rich. You know, it's like I have gone down and bought not too long ago, I went and bought a dryer from a man. And he told me that the dryer worked perfectly, but he just decided to go ahead and replace his dryer. So I went over there. I gave the man $40. I put the dryer on my trailer. I brought it home, plugged it in, and it didn't work. Needed about $200 worth of repairs. So I called the man, and he wouldn't answer the phone. He was really quick to answer the phone the first time. And that's because he's learned that there's nothing I can do to him legally. If I were to call the police, they would say this is a civil matter. I could spend the next 3 years fighting this guy to get my $40 back, but the reality is the guy's $40 richer, I'm $40 poorer, and I have to figure out how to dispose of this dryer I just bought. And that's the way the world works, you know, to this day. You know, I really honestly believe that's a very good example of this anomia increasing. Because of the increasing of lawlessness, or this perversion of law, the increasing of the perversion of law, or the increasing use of the law to do harm to others, the love of the greater number will cool off. And in fact, people look back at a time when neighbors would sit out on the porch and talk to one another, and people got along and people helped each other. And I've got a few subscribers that say that their neighborhood is like that, but I have never experienced that. And since I've been a grown up living amongst neighbors, it seems like everybody is out to do harm to everybody else. So are there any signs at all that we're living in the last days? No, but there are signs that we're getting awful close to the last days.
So I guess I'm a little confused. Why is this all tied back into Matthew 24? Seems like everything is tied into Matthew 24 nowadays.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that when I find a scripture and it intrigues me and I research it and I find out that it's been severely misrepresented, then I wonder, it's like, why would the churches be so interested in preserving this concept of it? Because when you tell somebody because of the increasing of iniquity, you can go to church and ask them what iniquity is, and they'll say sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that's a serious misrepresentation of what it is that God hates. What God hates is people using lies, a system of lies, to take advantage of one another. And it all ties into pretty much everything that's in the Bible. Every single verse about how much God hates sex is really about people, God's hatred of manipulating people or doing harmful things and saying that it's a good thing. When Jesus was on earth, one of the things he said to the Pharisees, he said, "You're filthy. You on the outside you look wonderful, but in the inside you're filled with iniquity." So what it meant is you're manipulating the laws in order to harm people. A lot of people that are aware of this, that this word anomia means lawlessness, is some translations of the Bible do translate this as lawlessness. So like the people who are what they call Messianic Jews, they kind of like are Christians that worship Jews. They say that lawlessness is basically following the law of the land and not following the law of Moses, as if somehow the Jewish law of the land was different than the American law of the land, which it isn't. It's just basically an arbitrary system of legalism that is accepted by the majority. When Moses went and got the law from God, it was the Ten Commandments. When the people rejected the Ten Commandments, God gave them the law of Moses, which is basically the laws that Moses chose for those people as a human law. And so that verse, which is about a perversion of the legal system, is something that a decent, good-hearted person would recognize as needing fixed. That's a major problem. But the vast majority of people see it as an opportunity. Like I said earlier, when somebody sees a lawyer doing crooked things and getting rich, they think, well, I can't be a lawyer, but I can still do crooked things. And so they try to pick apart what a lawyer does to get rich, and they take all the things that they can incorporate into their own lives, and they use those against their neighbors, friends, neighbors, family. It doesn't matter.
So are you a communist? Are you a socialist? Or it doesn't sound like you like capitalism at all.
Yeah, what is there's a word, synonyms or antonyms. Yeah, synonyms. A synonym is a word that means almost the same as another word. It's like jog and run. Those are synonyms, kind of. They basically, as an English speaker, we would recognize them as different, but we know that sometimes if you're running, you're really jogging, and if you're jogging, you're really running, and that's a synonym. But for me, communism is a synonym of socialism. And socialism is basically a synonym of capitalism. Capitalism is just a synonym of any form of governmental oppression. All human governments are basically the same thing. Democracy. Now, we look at countries where they have a monarch who's not chosen by the people, but it's still a democracy, because democracy simply means ruled by the demons, or ruled by the demos, the people who are under the control of the demons. And if you go over there and kill a monarch of a country, everybody in that country wants to kill you. So whether they voted for that guy or not, they love him until he's defeated. Then whoever defeats him, they love them until that person's defeated. We look at the Bible and we think, okay, the law of Moses was given to the Jews and they fought for that, and they still to this day fought for it. And that's not really true. If you go back and read the Bible, the Jews were really picky about the law of Moses, but they were also doing the same thing. They were utilizing the law to take advantage of others. So the rich people would be eating pork chops, but if a poor person ate a pork chop, they would punish them. And that's the way it is today. You know, somebody has someone murdered. If it's a rich person, what you do is you arrest a poor person and convict them and let the rich person go. Nothing's changed. But if we take a look at the legal, not just the legal systems, but the governmental systems of the world, they're all the same. It's just rich people controlling poor people, and poor people supporting the rich people because those are the ones that control them. But getting back to the Israelites, when they were real picky about using legalism, breaking the law, or talking about the law but not actually doing it. Well, when they were conquered by Babylon, they suddenly were no longer under Jewish law; they were under Babylonian law, and so they utilized the Babylonian law the same way that they did the Jewish law or the Israelite law, the law of Moses. And then when they were conquered by the Persians, the same thing. They were conquered by the Greeks, the Romans, and a lot of what you read about what was going on with Jesus' life was a manipulation or abuse of the Roman legal system at that time. They used it like the legal system of the Jews, which was the law of Moses in a perverted form, mixed with the law of the Romans in order to exterminate Jesus.
So, if you had a lot of money, would it be immoral for you to invest in the stock market or have a 401k for your retirement or something?
Right now, I think it would be a good idea. I think everybody, like it says in the Bible, that money is good as a for security for the future. You know, I can't remember exactly how it's worded. Money is a protection, something like that. But you know, you don't worship money. If you have it, you use it to your benefit. You know, if you need transportation, you have money, you buy a car. If you have money and you don't need transportation, you invest it so that later, when you need a car, you can get a car, maybe a better car than what you can get now.
Seems like that almost ties back to that idea of um, not relying on what is it? Not
Mammon.
mammon. Yeah. So storing your grain, so to speak, would be storing your stocks for a later date, and instead of storing your faith in God, you're storing it in the stock market.
Yeah, well, you know, if you look at that verse, there's a verse that says money is the root of all evil. I think that's the verse. It says, if you look at it in Greek, it says mammon is the root of all evil. And so if you read everything it says about mammon, it's like mammon means more than money. It means investments. It means the economic systems of the land. But I went into a Hebrew dictionary to see if there was anything similar. Like if you were to take all the Greek letters and convert them into Hebrew letters, is there a word similar to mammon? And mammon actually was a hole that was dug in the ground for storing grain. And if you go back and look at the story of Joseph and his brothers, you know, Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt. Years later, there was a famine, so the brothers of Joseph went there. They didn't recognize Joseph. He was a king now. He's wearing a crown and all that kind of stuff. And they didn't have any grain. They wanted grain, and Joseph said, "Well, give me your silver and your gold," I think. And they put that in that hole. They were taking the grain out of these grain storage vaults, and when the grain storage vaults got emptied, they filled it with gold and silver. And so when the Israelites finally broke free from Egyptian bondage, that's when Moses came along and got Pharaoh to release them. It says that they went in, they pillaged Egypt, or they absolutely stripped Egypt of all its resources. So what they did is they went into those mammon, those grain vaults, and got all that silver and gold out. And that's why it could be said that mammon is the root of all evil, because that gold and silver that was in there is the same gold and silver that's in Fort Knox and Swiss bank accounts and or the British, wherever they got all that stuff stored. That's the same original stuff that was there. It's grown over the years. You know, I think back at the time it was probably like 3 or 4 tons. Now it's, I don't know, 1,000 tons. But it's still inside of those gold bars in Fort Knox is that original gold that was taken out of those grain storage bins when Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt.
I mean, I agree with you, but I almost don't even think it is about gold and silver. It's almost like it's the grain that's important because There's also that parable about finding something buried in your backyard or something. And there was a farmer that invested all his money to have more grain silos and everything. And that almost seems like more mammon talk there.
It's basically the same thing. I mean, if you're the one, here's the deal. You and I need today what a bologna sandwich and a piece of fruit and some eggs and biscuits, and that'll get us through the day. We don't need anything else. But there are people on this earth that have 18-wheeler loads of those things, and they've got them in a vault. You're just waiting to sell them to take advantage of the people who are starving to death. And so, you really don't. That's why Jesus, when he said pray, he said, pray then this way: Our Father who art in heaven, give us this day our daily bread. Give us what we need today to live. And that's really all that we're allowed to pray for. We can't go, hey, Lord, give me all of my neighbor's food. Give me enough food that I can control populations. That's one of the things that was a Henry Kissinger's great quotes is, if you want to control the you want to control nations, you control the oil. If you want to control people, you control the food, or vice versa. But that's basically it. If you have control of the food, you can make people do anything. Just show them that being a telemarketer is profitable, and they don't care who gets hurt. They will sit there and tell you they love you, that they want what's best for you. They don't want you to get stranded because you can't get your car fixed. And the reality is they just want your money. They're not going to fix your car. I know a bunch of people that have bought those warranties before. I've never met anybody that got any money out of it. When their cars blew up or whatever, transmission goes out, somewhere in the fine print, well, this covers everything except for the parts on your car.
Speaking about that, I've heard this mostly from Muslims that insurance is essentially gambling, and you're trying to get more than you put into something, which is wrong. I'm sure the Amish probably don't even have insurance and stuff. So is it wrong to have
Well,
insurance?
for me, it's a losing game no matter what you do. As a responsible citizen, you don't want to be a burden on anyone, and you have a house, and if your house burns down, you're too old to start over again. You need some kind of protection, and basically insurance, even the word insurance or the concept of insurance, is based on community responsibility. So you've got a community of 100 people, and if one person's house burns down, the whole community comes together to put up another, to rebuild the house. uh, in our day, everybody in the community has to work around the clock just to have food and shelter. And so if somebody's house burns down, it's an impossibility. You can't, the community cannot fix a person's house unless you're Amish. But it doesn't work that way at all. It's just another scam or scheme. And um, if you are a responsible citizen, you work all the time, you work overtime, your wife works all the time, you eventually get all your kids working, you would expect that your life would be better than a person who doesn't work. Well, I've come to find out that people who don't work usually end up with the same amount of resources at the end of their life as a person who does work. You get the more you make, the higher percentage you pay in taxes. Eventually, you have to have insurance because no one's going to help you. If you're one of the things I've learned when I got really really poor is that you have to get your EBT. That's the food stamps program. Not because you need the food stamps. They aren't going to give you anything. If you go down there, you're going to sit in a waiting room 40 hours, 80 hours a year to get $20 a month in food stamps. It's not worth it. It is a total waste of time. It's humiliating. It's degrading. But if your house burns down and you can't fix it, you have no insurance, no way to recover, you can go to a government agency and say, my house burned down, and the first thing they're going to ask you is, do you have EBT? Yes, I do. And they will set you up with people that can help you to get back into a house. They either get into public housing or rebuild the house that you lost in the fire. But same thing with Medicaid. You know, Medicaid is for people that are too poor to have Medicare. My wife is on Medicaid. I have no complaints about it. I am on Medicare, which costs $100 and something a month, but because I'm very, very poor, I get Medicaid too, which means Medicaid pays for my Medicare. And then they've got another program called United Health, which is if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you toss both of those out and you get this other program. And the United Health gets me dental work, glasses. It pays for all my over-the-counter medications. And, you know, I mean, I've got diabetes. I've got to take the medicines that I take and my wife take, probably, don't want to exaggerate, but I'm guessing about $500 a month. And there's no way on $1,000 a month of Social Security disability that I could ever pay for all of that medicine. You know, so I'm like, people are always telling me, well, why don't you go get a second job? You got all this time on your hands. Like, if I go make like 5,000, so little as $5,000 a year, you know, I get to keep all of my Social Security, but I'll lose every penny that I get through Medicare or Medicaid. And on top of that, they take away my EBT, which means now the little bit of money I make has to all go just towards house insurance. Now, my mom doesn't believe in that system. She doesn't believe in people getting their house rebuilt unless they have insurance. And so my mom actually pays for insurance on my house because for whatever, some kind of emotional need or whatever. And so I'm set from every angle. I've told my mom before, if you stop paying, I probably have a better chance because after Hurricane Katrina, my house was destroyed. I saw people with insurance waiting for years to get their money. But me, I go down there and they said, you have EBT? Yes, I do. I said, well, we'll send somebody to fix your house. And that's what happened, just like that. So it doesn't pay to struggle to do what's right because our concept of what's right is not really right at all.
The Bible does say something about being as like, I don't know, not wise or wise as snakes or serpents or something like that. Do you think that probably ties into using the system against itself, perhaps?
Yeah, because you know the thing is, it's like I said, legalism is where you have this system in place where it's a system of punishment and reward, punishment for people that don't work and reward for people who do, punishment for people who do a bad job, reward for people who do a good job, and that's all fake. You have to acknowledge, if you can recognize that the system is a serpent, then you can think like a serpent and somehow exist inside of that system without being part of it.
The problem I have with that though is that how do you know when when you're an evil person by, your actions are supposed to tell who you are. So if we're acting like everybody else, then aren't we just as evil as everybody else?
Well, if you look at the original law given to Adam and Eve, was basically make babies, eat human food, don't eat food that isn't human food, um, love one another, love God. Not a whole lot to it. It's just some basic things that were put into every human to instinctively do. But people broke free from that. You know, Eve said, "Well, what if I reject my instincts and do wicked things? I can be a god." And basically, that's the way most humans are. And unfortunately, when God gave the Ten Commandments to the Israelites, it was possible to live by those Ten Commandments because all they had to do was go into the promised land and they would be fed. There was human food there. They didn't have to engage in agriculture. It was, the weather was mild. They wouldn't even have to build a house. They wouldn't have to wear clothing. But they got in there, and within a short time, they had turned the promised land, the land of milk and honey, into the burnt land. That's what the Bible calls. That's what Zion means, the burnt place. And so, at that point, there's no opportunity to live by natural law. We cannot live by the Ten Commandments. You know, in this world, even to something as simple as "Thou shalt not kill." According to the Bible, just killing animals is as bad to God as killing people. But aside from that, if we live in a world where people don't kill, civilization doesn't work. It's not like we have to kill, but if we're supporting this system in any way, tax money, working somewhere. I've always said, well, the most evil people on earth are soldiers because they go overseas and murder people. But they can't do that if you don't put gas in their car. They can't do that if you don't provide groceries for them to eat, if you don't work somewhere making clothing for them. So we're all involved in murder. Even if we're not the ones who pull the trigger, if we sell gas to a guy that's in the military, we're helping him to achieve his goal of committing murder. And that's just one. Most of the laws that were given to Moses, the Ten Commandments, in their original Hebrew versions, are simple things like do not pretend to love someone in order to take advantage of them. That's a major law. Well, the way that comes out is thou shalt not commit fornication or something, adultery, whatever. Well, those English words, adultery and fornication, do not mean the same thing. Adultery is sex with somebody else's spouse. Fornication is sex without a license. And the words actually just mean don't be using love as a means of taking advantage of someone.
Pivoting kind of over to current events, have you heard about all these riots and what people are demanding, and they want to like get more resources for themselves from the government, and they want people to be, take care of them, otherwise they're going to riot in the streets. I mean, is that just part of the demons talking, or is this actual good people trying to fight back, or what?
Well, one good thing about it is that, who's the good guys in this? The Republicans or Democrats? Republicans have some good points about things that we need to do to make America great again. And Democrats have some good points about injustice that are being done because we're making America great again. But see, neither one of them is thinking about God's version of this. They're not thinking about natural law. There ain't nobody out in the street saying, let's all take our clothes off, make love, and eat food. There's none of that. It's always somebody wants to make a different set of rules for everybody else. The Democrats wanted, and even in amongst them, you've got 100 Democrats out there throwing Molotov cocktails at cops. One of them wants free food for all the hungry. Another one wants all free food for themselves. They're not as united as they seem. Is what I'm trying to say. But I posted a short video on Facebook the other day. It was just some guy. It looked like he's tripping out on drugs or something. But he's got this humongous white hair and white beard, and he says he's really like not a really good speaker, but he's like, "Oh yeah, what's going on? It's really bad. It's bad. Well, they say it's bad. It's like you don't really have to be sad because everybody's sad or angry because everybody's angry. You can like go eat some cookies or something." and, and then he says, if turning on the news, like if that makes you upset, I don't know, like go watch somebody play the accordion. Like I know what you're saying, that you don't want to watch somebody play an accordion, but there's some people that can really play accordion good. I was like, wow, that's just so simple. He says, if they tell you to feel bad, just don't feel bad.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot before. So like some people will say like if you're homeless, well, just go buy a home, if you're hungry, just go eat
Yeah,
something, So they kind of break it down in those
well,
simple things, yeah.
yeah, it's but I mean, really, it's not that far fetched. It's like the only people that are going to be sad about all this protesting. I mean, obviously, the people who have their towns being destroyed or their businesses destroyed or their homes destroyed. Well, that couldn't happen to me. For me to worry about it is because every single thing I've ever tried has failed. I mean, the house I'm in is collapsing, and I did everything in my power to have a nice home, but because of being overly kind to people, I've been stripped of most of my resources by people saying that they're my friend or that they're my lover or my family. And so I've already experienced all of this stuff in slow motion. You know, these people that have been selling groceries in the same street corner for 30 years and they have a nice home and they have a nice car and all that. That isn't me. Could never be me because no matter what I ever tried to do, if I'd have opened a store somewhere, I would have been out of business the next day. So I can't, I cannot, I feel sorry for everybody that's involved in this stuff, but I feel sorry knowing there's nothing I can do about it. You know, if I thought there was a way for me to fix it, I would be miserable, but I'm not because I can't fix it. I know I can't fix it. I've acknowledged that. It's like everything you do. You just have to, if you're going to make a decision to go buy a dryer from somebody on Facebook, you pretty much have to have in your head that there's a possibility you're going to give them the money, the dryer ain't going to work, and you're still not going to have a dryer. And so when that happens, you're like, you know, what was the you got to have an exit plan. So I bought a dryer knowing that okay, I haven't had a dryer for 2 years. If this guy sells me a dud, I'll just go 2 more years without a dryer. You know, I've done that. I've experienced it. I know what it's like. It's not going to be life changing.
Speaking about the uh, economy and things going bad and, people hurting people, does it seem unusual to you that the government is continuing this current lockdown? It's almost like they want to destroy businesses. Do you think that maybe that's part of their plan?
I get there. I think I brought this out like the last three episodes of the Sustenance and Covering TV show, but there are a lot of verses about Satan doing all these horrible things and the motivation he has for doing all these horrible things and why people go along with these horrible things. But it's like God is kind of manipulating him along. So, what is Satan thinking? You know, he's thinking is, I want to rule the world. I'm about to return to power in the flesh. I want everybody to give their allegiance to me. I want to control all businesses. I want control of all families, all medical, all transportation, all food. And so, how he's decided to scheme all that, or what he's put into his worshipers' heads, I don't know. It could be that all the bankers are thinking, "Well, if we do this, we'll get all the money." Or all the religions thinking, if we do this, we'll have total control of our flocks. You know, there's a million ways to look at this stuff. The only real way is that this is the cycle of time. We've come full circle. Now it's time for everything to wrap up, and so God's allowing it to happen. It's almost like a natural process that would happen without God, but somehow God is involved. These people, what they think they're doing is not what they're doing. They're putting an end to their civilization. The one that obviously is not their. They don't want to end civilization. They want civilization to be more profitable for them.
Yeah, and speaking about profitability, it seems like the churches are going along with all the edicts of closing down businesses and limiting everything, and you'd think that they would be the ones to rebel, but they're just kind of falling in line with everybody else.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's a weird world, but it's only unusual because it wasn't like this before. You know, it's like if I woke up speaking French, be wow, I never spoke French before. That's how weird this is. But it's really not bad. I mean, uh, last year, what, a billion people were slaughtered for petroleum and gold. This year, a billion people will be slaughtered for petroleum and gold. So nothing's really changed. It's just that the way the world is going on, it's doing things a little bit differently to achieve the same goals. And so I'm I haven't chosen a team. I'm just watching, and I'm glad. This is the greatest time in human history because all the prophets of old spoke about the end of civilization. You know, it's as a reality, but they never got to see it. They lived their regular lives. You know, worked as farmers, worked as fishermen, stuff like that, and then they died. And they died telling people the end of the world is coming. You know, the end of civilization is coming. The Satan's empire is about to be overthrown. You know, we get to go around telling people Satan's civilization is being overthrown, and they can laugh at us just like they laughed at the last prophets. But when it's overthrown, you're like, I told you.
But I mean, every generation has one of these prophets coming out saying that this is the right time, this is the end of the world. So I don't know, maybe we're just maybe we're not the right,
More false
yeah, we're
prophets.
false prophets just like the rest. So
I want to tell people, it's like I'm looking at this my calendar going, aha, that's the day. This is the day when things are going to happen because seemingly, everything, every single historic event is based on the solstices and the equinoxes. So this pandemic started on the equinox, the spring equinox of 2020. I predict it will end on the spring equinox of 2021. If that's the case, then this is the last satanic sabbatical, meaning from that moment till the return of Christ is 7 years. But in the middle of that, 3.5 years, there will be a change in the sun and the moon and the stars, because that's what has to happen first. That's the sign of the last days, is when the sun and the moon and the earth go back into conjunction. I really believe that's going to happen in the at the fall equinox. So not the spring equinox, fall equinox of, I don't know, what did I tell you before? It's like 2023. I got a little thing coming here. If everybody wants to set their calendar on the date to make fun of me for being wrong, it's where is that? Yeah, timetable of the end. October 1st, 2023, which not really October 1st. I put that down there. If we return to a 12-month calendar with 30-day months, 12 30-day months, and a 360-day year, I don't really know what you would call that month, because the October won't work anymore. You'll have to have a new system of of tracking time. But whatever that month would be, the first day of that month would be the conjunction of the planets. Well, April 2023, then, or October 1st, 2023, well, that means Christ returns April 1st, 2027. But I'm not officially taking that stand, because I don't know if this is the final satanic sabbatical, or if we've got another one coming up 7 years from now.
remember that time that some reporter contacted you to try to do an interview because you were predicting such and such, and it turns out no, you weren't predicting that, and they got disappointed.
Yeah, yeah, I've had that before. I'm like, you're not going to get me to say something stupid. You got to wait. If you want to see me say something stupid, wait till Ala Toledo uh, asks me questions. Then I'll do it.
Speaking of which, can we get an update on the videos? Are they're in the shoot coming out or what?
This is I always get to look like an idiot, because I'm constantly saying and I'm gonna do these things. Now, hey, you know what? You're the guy that's in charge of the channel now. So if you could put in the description a link to the Melchizedek scripts. I want everybody has been begging me to do the Melchizedek videos, and I'm still not getting them done. And I want those people, if they're really, really that concerned, to be able to go read them for themselves. If they're not good readers, I'm sorry. I'll eventually get these things put up. But I've had another bizarre cycle of events take place that just was beyond my control, and it's like one thing after another. I made a video a while back, and I never posted it, of my friend Tonto, taking him down to get a COVID test because he was sick at work. And in the video, I take him down there going, man, if everybody thinks you got COVID, I don't want you in my car. And so I made him put one of them little pieces of paper on his nose, and I took him down there, and they said, well, what's wrong with you? He said, well, I'm constipated and diarrhea, and I'm throwing up. They said, that's not COVID-19. Let's take your temperature. And they took his temperature, and they gave him a thing saying he could go back to work. Well, about 10 years ago, I saw Tonto, and he was really skinny, like 100 pounds. And I asked him, how he was doing, and he said okay. But I guess maybe 3 years ago, I asked him why he got so skinny so quick, because he was fat, like 280 or something. He went down to 100 pounds. I said, why did you lose so much weight so quick? And he said, I think I got colon cancer. And I said, well, does your doctor think you have colon cancer? And he said, no, I haven't gone to a doctor. So when I finally, when the thing started, I was able to get him over here pretty regular. And I said, if you come back to my house, you're going to the doctor. I'm going to take you. And he said, okay. And so I eventually got him to the doctor. And I mean, it was really bizarre. They told him, go to the emergency immediately, and emergency room. And he went there, and they checked him and said, yeah, you need to set up an appointment with a gastroenterologist. And so he set up an appointment with a gastroenterologist. He goes there, and the man's like, did you ever go to the emergency room? Said, yeah, they told me to talk to you. He said, get back to the emergency room now. You could die any minute now. So get back to the emergency room. So I took him. And since then, it's like my life is just trips to and from the hospital, trips to and from the doctor's office, trips just taking Tonto around. And he's in there right now, laid up in the bed. But he's going to go somewhere at noon today. Somebody's going to come pick him up and take him somewhere. I don't know where. But he's not staying here. And I keep telling him, you don't live here, right? Because I don't want him to start getting mail and then I can't get rid of him. But he stays here a few days a week, and that takes up a lot of my time. On top of that, I got defrauded out of a ton of money a while back, and my mom, was kind of involved, and now she's like crying all the time because of what happened to me. And I'm trying my best to kind of mitigate that, but in the middle of it, my brother called crying, bawling his eyes out. The job he's been at for 20 years or whatever, he got laid off because of COVID. And my brother, he's a printer, and that's what he is. He's not anything else. So if he's not working in a print shop, he's worthless to him. That's the way he thinks. For me, I get laid off. I'm like, my brother is like all depressed. So my mom called my brother and said, I'm sending your brother up to stay with you. And he's like, no, no, no. So I called him and talked to him. He doesn't live around here. He's in Montgomery, Alabama, which is like 10 hours away or something. I told my mom I would go, but I said, I can't go with Tonto in the house. Somebody has to look after him, make sure. I'm trying my best to make sure he doesn't eat the wrong stuff. The doctor gave me a list of stuff that he's not supposed to eat. And so it's kind of hard to come up with menus that I'm trying to fatten him up. I think he's going to be in surgery soon. And I don't think at his weight that they can take him into surgery. So I'm trying to get him a little meat on his bones.
Well, I think we're way off topic from legalism now, but that was your update. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
I think we're
look.
done. So
If I don't get Melchizedek printed, I mean, eventually something's going to happen, because every single time I make one of these big groundbreaking series, there's always a bunch of obstacles thrown in the way. And this is just another one of those things. It's like I keep saying, it's like when I buy a dryer. When I buy it, I have to know that there's a chance I won't get anything. And the same thing with just about everything I do. So when I get defrauded out of thousands of dollars, I was like, well, I don't have thousands of dollars now. That's the solution. But to my mom, it isn't. And I have never had a solution for putting my mom into an unbearable depression. I go over there and see her crying, and it's like crushing to me. I can't come over here and stand in front of a camera with a happy face and tell people about Melchizedek.
well, hopefully things turn up for you. So we'll
It's
do.
not hopeless. It'll work. It'll work.
Yeah, it'll
Everything's
work. Cool. Why don't you go ahead and take us out now?
fine. Okay. Well, apparently, if you're a good person, I mean, if you're a righteous person, then I've got this system I use for determining who I'll deal with and who I won't, and so it doesn't work. You can't deal with anybody. I've even had subscribers I've dealt with who have taken advantage of me, and you'd think that they're just like the most wonderful people on earth. Basically, you have to be a hermit, or just don't do anything nice for anybody, or at the very least, if you do something nice for somebody, make sure it's something you can afford. Because this world is doing everything in its power to crush us and to hinder us from doing what's right. And even like with what the topic of the day, which is this use of the law to do harm to others. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 23 uses this same word, this use of law to hurt others. It says, then I will profess to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye workers of iniquity. And there are probably 20 or 30 verses that use that word to manipulate people through the legal system. And in most of those verses, it talks about a day when God will rid the earth of those who are able to get away with wicked things by manipulating the law. So that's all we have to do is hang on until that day, and the world will be a much better place where people like you and I can freely love one another and share freely with one another. All we have to do is wait. Be patient. And if you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.